Welcome back to Box to the Battlefield. And this morning, over the last few episodes, I've been working on the King Tiger, as you guys know. It's time to get into the painting. And today's episode is going to be very brief. I'm just going to pre-shade. I'm going to talk about the colors I use and what have you. But it's going to be a very short video. And then I'm going to step it up by starting to put the actual tank colors on it. And as you guys also know, this particular series is more about the explosion and the shell hits that have happened to this King Tiger, and we'll concentrate a lot on the colors chosen for that part of it. But let me I'm still going to appreciate it. This particular turret has been covered in Tamiya primer, and I think most of you know that I choose white over gray. And this is out of the aerosol can. It's smooth and fine, but you can also pick up, like for instance, I had to sand a little bit back in here, just a little bit of speck from who knows what, dust in the air. So, and I find that using white primer over gray, I find that shadows fall in a sort of a grayish tone, and they sort of get camouflaged when I use gray. So I prefer to use white, and the shadow will fall on a little speck or a little, dog hair or something, cat hair. It just seems to be visually more visible if I use white versus if I use gray. So anyway, it's been primed with Tamiya primer. It's been allowed to dry for 48 hours, and then and always let the primers wick off, for 24 hours at least. Don't spray Tamiya primer on. Wait 2 hours. Try to speed up the process with a hair dryer or anything like that. Just let nature take its course. Wait 24 hours and then begin putting on the colors necessary. This type of color. Now, my recessed colors chosen is never black. I never take flat black from anybody. I never use Tamiya flat black or glossy black directly out of a can. My formula is about, everything's an ish when it comes to my mixing of paints, but at least 80% olive drab number 62 and about 20% black. Now, depending on if I was going to do an African vehicle or a vehicle like Dave Forrest is working on, that AMX 13, I probably would use zero black. So, sort of depends on the color that I'm going to choose, but certainly I never go straight on with black whatsoever. To me, it looks like a Corgi die-cast model, with the process there. So never do that. So then I mix it with, to me, a lacquer thinner, and every time I know most of our audience is used to this by now. But here at the hobby shop, here at Hornet Hobbies, you start talking about mixing lacquer paint with acrylics. Even today, even in 2018, even though this product has been out for 10 years, it still comes as a surprise to people. But I find that using this lacquer paint is going to increase your finishing coat, by 20%. It's just the way to go versus X20. And X20 has its places to be in the hobby and airbrushing and painting, but when it comes to the actual laying down of the actual colors you want, I switch to this. If I want a pigment fixer and that sort of thing, I'll go to X20. But and quite often that's just economical. This is expensive, so even a little bit of rubbing alcohol in certain processes that you can get at your local pharmacy is that's certainly something that I go to as well. So, but anyway, in this event, in any event, I'm going to just start to pre-shade, and I've left off certain things like the turret ring because I want to get underneath and around all these little vision ports and what have you. So there's certain things that I have left off, but and we'll paint it at a later date. By the time you see this next, she'll be ready to roll with the typical German colors on it. So let me just fire up our compressor. So always test off screen, make sure your airbrush is performing. And Dave Forrest and I always go to Iwata, but there's other great airbrushes on the market, of course. It's just a comfort zone with us, so Iwata is our choice for doing. And like I say, the mixture of paint is about 80-20, olive drab to black. So I'm just going to follow the Zimmerit line. Make sure you catch that edge. Don't forget the Zimmerit has a little bit of thickness to it, so catch that edge of the Zimmerit. You don't want to leave a white primer line. Now these little things I haven't filled with the Zimmerit yet. It's on the attached Zimmerit sheet and I just haven't glued them on yet, but I shall. As you guys can see, this doesn't take long to do, but it's well worth it. Dave Forrest and I are into adding layers and layers. And as far as how thick this paint is, well, this paint is about 60% thinner and about 40%, and again, those measurements are soft measurements, but nevertheless, there's a more thinner than paint. And the nice thing about that is it cuts down on any orange peel. There's going to be a natural shadow underneath the barrel for obvious reasons. Now, another thing that comes up here in the shop is where to put these lines. I mean, it's not always obvious where to put the lines. But somewhere where shadow, where sunlight is not going to necessarily reach, like underneath this little porthole here. Just a little bit of shadow like so. So you can see a nice stretch there of white primer where sunlight would have been hitting the tank. And then very dark underneath here where there's going to be hidden from sunlight. So that's the sort of process that you have to do. Sunlight versus shadow. And figure painters are the best at that, and they're the ones to talk to about this pre-shading. I mean, when the figure painters are doing a sleeve on a jacket, what they're doing basically is a miniature version of what I'm doing right now. Only they do it with, 10-0 brushes. When I start putting on the pansies yellow color, what I'll do is I'll go into great detail and description about what's taking place based on what I'm doing today, and when I'm back on camera again with the new color, we'll get into how this how important this layer of paint is moving forward. Then again, we're going to have a situation in this particular tank where there's going to, because of the shell hits, we're going to have a lot of paint chipped and a lot of different type of weathering on this particular tank. But let's say, for instance, this was a tiger tank just in the field, no, without any shell hits. This process is going to be much more important, but it's important to do this on every one of your models. And before Dave did his AMX 13, it looked exactly like my turret did. So, and don't worry about it. You can instantly start painting. If I went and changed this to the German yellow, in the next 2 minutes, we could instantly be painting. So there's no need to sit and let this dry overnight or anything like that. Just get to this point, glue on the extra parts, and then you can start painting, no hesitation. And obviously the weathering and all that stuff will come afterwards. But anyway, there's our video for this morning, and next time we get together, and I'm not going to go over a long thing with the hull. I'm strictly going to work on the turret, and the hull will catch up off camera, and then we'll put the two together shortly. And then we have, of course, the groundwork to do for where this tank has met its end, and all that sort of thing is moving forward this August. So anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you guys shortly. Take care.